The geared up crowd and the natty crowd don't always get along, but why? At the end of the day, both sides have the same motivations, right? Today, I ask natural pro bodybuilder Alberto Nunez his thoughts on what those differences are on this episode of Between Two Dumbbells. I'm your host, Skip Hill, and I'm bringing over 40 years of bodybuilding experience to the table, including over 25 years of online coaching. I'm joined today by WNBF Pro Natural Bodybuilder, Alberto Nunez. Ladies and gentlemen of the audio radiance, you're Between Two Dumbbells. Alberto, welcome to the show.
I appreciate you having me, Skip.
Now, you know why
nice.
you're here.
Yeah,
I know why you're here, but I have to tell the viewers, he's natural. He's from the other side. Why is he coming? You already had GBS. We had to put up with that. The reason is because I love the differences, or the lack of differences, I guess, between the geared up crowd and the natural crowd, especially when it comes to training, because that's typically what we focus on this show. Now, I'm happy to go down different rabbit holes, nutrition, we can talk about prep, everything else, but to focus on the training first. And I'll just put this question to you. I'll just lay it right there in your lap. What is, or are there no differences between geared up training and natural training?
I think there has to be differences.
Hey, there you go. I'm glad you said, because if you said no, be like, oh man, okay, he's right. We have to move on to the next. There are differences. So let me ask you this then. As far as what's one that just pops in your head? What is the main thing or the biggest difference you think that there is between natural training and gear training?
I think a lot of the core principles are the same. But for example, if I just change my mind tomorrow and I'm like, you know what, I'm joining the other team, I think I'd have to be very careful, for example, about objective progressions. So like adding to the logbook, I shouldn't just because I can.
Okay, number one, do you use the logbook? You a logbook guy?
No, because I'm worse in the logbook, folks, because I remember everything.
Oh, okay, fair. I always say, if you have a good set, how can you not remember it? I'm 55 and I can remember it. I can't remember what I had for breakfast, but I'll remember the numbers that I put up a week ago.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And even when I trained with my wife, I remember all her stuff too. I'm like, hey, last week you got this on that, and like, I gotta
no kidding.
think you could beat it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's next level. I can't do that one. But I have trained with my wife for many, many years. Do you train with your wife now?
No. We had our first child.
So now you train with your girlfriend. Okay, I think that's cool. If that works out, to each their own. That's totally cool. But no, I'm kidding.
Hey, I am looking for a training partner, because that does make all the difference, though. It's just, you know how it goes. They're hard to find.
Sure. Okay, now the logbook. You're not a logbook guy. Neither am I. But I'm still looking for something. What parallels then? I mean, look, you don't bench press any different.
Yeah.
Our dumbbell presses are going to look the same, right? So it's not an exercise thing, but it is a recovery issue. I think we can both agree that there are massive differences in as far as recovery. I think I'm recovering better than you, Alberto. I'm pretty sure. And remember, I was natural at one point. I just didn't like it a lot. It wasn't working for me.
Yeah, no, it's definitely partying sober. Like, that's what I compare it to. Like, I get it why you guys, like, we used to have that guy growing up. It's just like, he really enjoys just hanging out with us while we go act like idiots, right? And he's our driver, and okay, sure, right? Yeah, so I get it, but I think that's the main difference. I think the main difference is just that you have to be careful, because a lot of these compounds, they don't change the way the connective tissue adapts. Right?
Okay, all right, that's a good one. Okay, I like that.
So it's like, I can RDL more today, but maybe I should do other things like pre-exhaust, like, or maybe control the tempo a little bit better, things of that nature. And then I guess kind of on a similar topic, the other thing I'd say is I think the pump work matters a lot more for you guys because a lot of that stuff isn't as tissue selective as we would like it to be.
Okay. All right. I guess
So
I can see that
you
too.
get
Yeah.
more of that into those places, right? So I think that's the main difference. It's like you I wouldn't call it sandbagging. It's just because I can doesn't mean you should. Like
Fair
when
enough.
it comes to progressions. Whereas for a natural bodybuilder, it's like, bro, adding 20 pounds to that RDL might be like in the same rep range, might be a 4 or 5 month endeavor. If it's there, just take it, you
Sure.
know,
Yep.
take it. But I do think bodybuilders, natural bodybuilders, undervalue some of the, I guess, like pump work because it's the way I see it, the way I classify it is it's stimulus that is not as costly to recovery.
Okay. All right. Then I like that explanation. That makes sense. So, is there, and I'm not sure I can answer this question. That's why I'm asking. I'm not
Mm,
setting you up, one of those. Do you think that natural bodybuilders, natural weightlifters, do they tend to lean toward the side of more myofibril type,
yeah.
gains versus, because I tend to think, and maybe I'm giving it
Mm,
away by asking the question, but the gear side, we can kind of volumize
mhm,
easier. So, and yet at the same time, the natural guy would seem to be okay. That is, and this is what people will argue is, well, that's the real muscle. And I sit over here as a gearhead and I say, I don't think it matters at the end of the day. No one gives a shit. But what's
yeah.
your opinion on that?
I think there's a different look to the muscle, right? So the smaller the individual, usually the more separation you see,
Hmm.
right? So for example, I train at Prodigy, Chris Havakos, maybe you know Chris, but
Vaguely. Yeah, yeah.
but
I will say this before you go on. This no shit. And I've told this to Chris and I've said this publicly for a long time. That is the best gym that I've ever trained at. He is so good with picking out specific pieces of equipment. It's that gym is insane. If it were anywhere, I'll say this, Dylan will get pissed at me, but if it were anywhere near Armbrust Pro,
oh,
from equipment standpoint, or
yeah.
just from an equipment standpoint,
Hmm.
give me Iron Prodigy. I call it Iron Prodigy, but I know it's changed to
It's
Prodigy.
Prodigy,
He's
yeah.
better with business now than he was before back in his meathead days. But yeah, it's an incredible gym. So I apologize. I had to get that in there. Go ahead. Not everyone wants to stand on stage in a thong, but they might want to look like they do. You might be thinking, this guy is old. How could he possibly get me into my best condition? Teach me how to optimize my training and save me time while doing it. Reach out to me and let's discuss your goals for 2026. 25 years of online coaching, 41 years of training, 35 years of competing. That's a lot of experience and wisdom. Reach out and let's discuss your goals.
Yeah, no, he'll tell me about when I'm dieting specifically. He's like, man, like you have all this great separation through your shoulders. He's like, and I just don't see that with the enhanced guys. It almost looks just more swollen,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
But I think it's just more of a size of the creature sort of thing because I'll see the same when I see especially older masters, say figure competitors, and I look at their clavicular heads and their delts, and I'm like, oh wow, there's just so many. Like I can see all the tines and all the flow and all the individual fibers. So I just think eventually you just get so big that things kind of start crowding a little bit, like Ronnie Coleman's quads, for example. Right. Um.
Okay, but Ronnie was still a level of leanness that
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I would argue that the current crop can't touch. It's
I
just a
agree.
different, and so it is hard obviously to compare different generations. That
Hmm.
that that I agree with. But I'll go on record as saying I think the natural guys are just in better condition. And I'm not even talking about pros. I'd say natural amateur guys. Now, when you get
Hmm.
deeper into the fields, okay, maybe not. But to get
Yeah.
deeper into the fields of any show, whether it's tested and natural or not, and you have that cliff that, everybody starts falling off where the condition just goes down, pretty
Hmm.
dramatically. So can you maybe you can, maybe you can't, but I'm curious what your opinion is. Why why is it that the natural guys, is it just because they're smaller? I've seen some big
Mm,
natural dudes. I'll see bigger natural dudes than some of the smaller geared up guys, and they're in better condition.
yeah.
There's something going on there.
Oh, before I get on that, yeah, the Ronnie Coleman thing, like it used to kill me because people sometimes just repeat things and they don't necessarily know what they're saying. It's just a game of telephone, and some guys would say things like, "Hey, I like the smaller, more shredded bodybuilders like Dexter Jackson as
Yeah,
opposed to Ronnie," and I'm like smaller, leaner is what they would say, leaner, and I'm like, hold up, like Ronnie is as lean as anybody.
yeah.
Like, he is bone dry through the back.
Mm.
No, you can have both, basically, right?
Right.
It's not common, but you can have both. Um, Personally, I think we get leaner just because there isn't, it's like speaking of, I'm assuming because of your hat, maybe you're a football fan,
Two of my
right?
girls go to University of Wisconsin, and it matches my sweatshirt. That's the only
Okay,
reason
okay.
I'm wearing it.
But sometimes you'll get these kids that like say that they're very good athletes, very mobile, so they never develop, you know, staying in the pocket and like reading offenses and all that, right? Because they just depend on that gift too much, right? The way of
Right.
say Tom Brady, who's just like a sitting duck, he had to learn to do that,
Yeah.
right? So when there isn't a whole lot of muscle to play with, it's like, what can I leverage? And the way I see conditioning, and this doesn't make sense to people until you get them on stage, because especially the last few weeks before a show, in clothes, I look miserable. I look like I shrunk. But
Right.
it's like I'm kind of growing. It's just not growing out. It's like growing in. It's kind of like when they found the Sphinx, like, covered with all that sand and they have to dig around it. And it's like, oh, wow, this thing is bigger and more impressive than we thought.
I like that
So,
analogy. Yeah.
so that's why we really leverage that, because there is no other way of looking that impressive on stage when, your FFMI is 25 if you're lucky.
Okay, so could it be argued that the gear crowd is so fixated on the size that we're not willing to give it up to get into the condition that we should be in? And I think it's safe to say that we even see this in the larger divisions. That's why the guys in the super heavyweights
Yeah.
typically aren't known to be shredded. But you get down into the light heavies, into the middles, the bantams, they're always freaky, right?
Mhm.
They're always
Yeah.
dug out. So it could be that we've created on the gear side our own little addiction to size, our costume of muscles, if you will. And I used to think that that was silly and, that's I don't know why they're saying that. Oh, wait, there might be something to that. So, we don't want to give up that size, and I know, I've been doing online training for a long time, you have too. The bigger guys, those are the ones you fight with because they're the ones that are bitching the most about losing, "Well, I'm losing size, I'm getting small." No, you're just getting leaner. You were too damn fat to begin
Ah,
with, and that fed, especially the genetic freaks that can carry the body fat, that it's almost prettier than
mhm.
just having it, around your hips and your lower back. So they don't want to give that up because that's giving up size. And the natural guys, I think that could play a part. The other part is just, I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but the other part that stands out is, I don't know, there's not a lot going on. There's not a million different variables because there's not a million different
Yes.
compounds in there.
Yeah, things get the more you throw in there, the more complicated things get.
Sure.
They just become less straightforward. So I think that's one huge obstacle. I'd say the other one is just prep duration. Like when I tell a lot of my enhanced uh, friends that it's going to be a 28-week prep at the end, it's like, oh shoot, it's like we don't, I think, plan out cycles that long, you know,
Right.
right?
Right.
So that kind of condenses your window of time. But so I think prep length for sure. The more you throw into a situation, the more variables, yes. And I'd say just also the bigger you are, probably the harder the diet fatigue is going to hit you.
Mhm.
So, dieting turns all of us into cowards at some point, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
And when you're carrying 240 pounds and you're emaciated, that's just a little different compared to someone who's 160 pounds
Mhm.
and emaciated. Like I think if anything, I get zippier. I don't want to move, but when I move, I move,
Right. Yeah.
Whereas you're 240 pounds and you're lethargic and you're 2, 3 weeks out.
Mhm.
That's you're doing some suffering in that body for sure. That I couldn't even imagine.
Well, even I would imagine too that there would have to be a difference in inflammation. I mean,
Oh
yes, we
yeah,
have the
yeah,
anabolic, the added anabolic component. We could literally starve ourselves,
yeah.
and it's going to be difficult to lose muscle tissue. We may flatten out. We may
Hmm.
look emaciated because we're flat as hell, but we're still quite anabolic here with
Yes.
everything we're taking. So I know the inflammation. I know I have found this myself. The deeper that cycle goes, it's almost like, okay, now I've got so much inflammation that it's almost countering the benefit
Uh-huh.
of the antibiotic. So then shifting into like we don't come off anymore. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
We don't come off. That's for pussies. We don't want to like not have hormone. We don't want to give up that size and everything. So we're coming down to what's essentially TRT. That's
Yeah.
that's just a given these days. But I find that when I go to those TRT phases, boy, I feel like $1,000,000 because I don't have that inflammation. I mean, I laugh, I probably shouldn't laugh, but I'm just being honest. I feel like $1,000,000 because I'm not dealing with the inflammation and all the crap that I've been putting into my body. And all of a sudden, wow, I am arguably progressing more from a strength standpoint, just
Hmm.
feeling
Hmm.
and contractile force. And it's like, okay, train a lot of people. You train a lot of people. You have to take that back to your clients and go, yeah, even after training, I've been training for 40, this will be my 42nd year. So, I mean, that's a long time of training and still learning after all that time to be able to say, okay, maybe we're going a little overboard here. Now, that doesn't mean that all my clients do that, but after being around for a while, there are those times, and I'll be honest, I'll be transparent. I did up the game last year to say, okay, if this is going to be my last run, let's not hold back a little bit. Let's go out with a bang. Let's not leave any stone unturned. And then it ends up being okay. That was overkill. So a lot of here's the reason I bring that up because it sounded like I'm just changing the channel to the me channel for a second, but I'm using it as an example of we are the geared up crowd is guilty typically of not just over analyzing, but over complicating things because of all the compounds. Remember, you're not only not dealing with antibiotics, you're not dealing with GLPs, right? Or are you? I mean, I don't know. I would assume for tested shows, but what about natural competitors that you work with or natural bodybuilders? Will they still use GLPs, GIPs? Sometimes they
You
do,
can't.
right?
I,
No.
I I
Okay.
guess,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. It's honestly it's too new where it's not formally on the banned substance list.
Oh,
But
really?
it's
Okay.
yeah, yeah. But I believe because you'd have to at some point you have to list everything you're taking from a supplement standpoint. And I think that being listed there would probably so right now it's Scout's honor when it comes to that, but I see that changing very quickly just because those things kind of came out of nowhere, at least to the general public. And when
Sure.
it
Yeah.
comes to drugs, you could kind of include us in that bunch.
Okay. So are natural guys really, are they that honest for real? I'm putting you on the
Yeah,
spot because I'm
yeah,
asking you to,
yeah.
to respond to everyone. Obviously,
Mm,
that can't be, I mean, let's be fair. Sometimes people will bullshit, right? Because I
yeah.
remember back in the day too, even with I'd get a lot of clients, if I'm being honest, who would come to me and say, "Hey, help me beat this test." That would be, well, I'm going to compete naturally, and I want to get around the test. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, like I'm all about taking gear. I'm okay if you want to take it, and at the same time, make no mistake. I think it should be said because people may be listening to the show right now who don't know me, maybe don't like me. for whatever reason, maybe because I take gear, but they're listening. So I want to be very, very clear and say, I have the utmost respect for anybody who remains natural, whether they're a competitor or they're not a competitor. What I don't have respect for is anybody who's going to reach out to me or is going to try to compete to get around a test. That is just that's like next level lack of integrity in my opinion. And to each their own, I guess I can do, but I mean, if you're going to be a douchebag, you're going to beat people who are legit natural. Like what kind of a who does that? Like who so I know that not everybody's honest. They clearly have intensive drug testing. So how does that work? I mean, can people cheat the system?
Yeah, that's wild. And here's the thing, it's like very few sports out there have like the tested and untested. So
Yeah.
it's like that's why like they're like the pedophiles of our tribes. It's like no, we don't claim them. They're not one of ours.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, and not a whole lot of sports do that. Like we're technically open about that. It's like, if you want to use, you go there. If you don't,
Sure.
you just go over here. Like
Yeah. At the
it's
end of the
that
day, it's a little
simple,
odd. I give you
right?
that. Yeah.
But it's yeah, it's different. It's very different. Like if you wanted to do track and field, um, a little different, right?
Right.
Because it gets really complicated with those sports, right? Um, but I'd say typically the people who get popped, they tend to be people who I think one, they didn't know better because they didn't do their research.
Okay. All
Because
right.
it's become kind of convoluted. What like a lot of because I talk to everyone at the gym and they're like, "Oh, so you can't take Clen? You can't take BPC?"
Right. Right.
And it's like, yes, like
You can't
yeah,
take anything.
literally, like none of the fun stuff, right?
Right. Right.
Um, so a lot of people don't know that. They think that, hey, oh shoot, like my Winstrol I took, 2 years ago, that counts. Yeah. So I think a lot of those folks get popped, and then the other ones are the ones that I guess sub elites, to put it nicely,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
who can't believe that that everyone is must be lying.
Yeah.
Um, but then every once in a while, you will catch some guys that are they're kind of surprising,
Well, but it's not the ones like you said who are established. You're at a level that I mean, the WNBF Pro number one, and you're arguably, and I know that sometimes this can make people who have humility feel like, okay, well, that's not exactly how you say it, but if you come in, you made the top 10, you were ninth at this last show, arguably one of the best, if not the best, natural shows. Could it be compared to the natural kind of Olympia as far as that level, right? Within the natural organization?
I'd say so because
Yeah.
when you look at crossover talent, yes, like as well as like Sean, Clarita like does like in the IFBB, that's about as well as he did with us.
Okay.
So it's very one to one. It's like, yeah, he's like someone in the top three, someone in the top three. So same thing when he was competing with us. Um, but yeah, a lot of folks that especially folks who maybe didn't play sports growing up and they never seen people who just have a knack for something.
Yeah.
They assume everyone has to be on stuff, and sports really help you see that right away.
Oh yeah.
Especially
Oh,
if
yeah.
you live in a like densely populated area. Like back when I was in high school, it's like we had Marshawn Lynch there, we had Maurice Jones-Drew, uh, all these kids that you're like, oh wow, like we all train the same,
Mhm.
we all love this game just as much, but
They
you
picked
just
their
have
parents better. That's what happened.
yeah,
They picked their parents
yeah,
better.
hmm
Yeah. Now let me ask you this, do you know your test levels? Do you do blood work? I mean, do natural guys do their blood work? No?
Yeah. I got them done once, right? Um, I can't do and I gotta start doing this because I'm 42 now, so I gotta
Right.
get that blood work in, but I can't with it. Growing up, I had a heart murmur, so I was getting poked and probed all the time, and some nurses are better than others.
Mhm.
So there was just a lot of I ended up going there and it's just splashing everywhere and just wasn't a very pleasant experience. So got it done one time. It was like 550 and like the free test kind of matched. But it's funny, one thing I've seen is that a lot of the most muscular jack guys, they have test levels that are kind of middle of the road.
Really?
And I think
Okay.
their body just does a lot with what it has.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a
Right.
good way to explain it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's
So
just efficient in all other avenues. Yeah. Okay. And look, at the end of the day, there are a lot of people who use gear who it doesn't seem to work very well. I'm middle of the
exactly.
road genetics. I mean, I have
Yeah.
said from day one, I'm a mediocre, not from day one. Actually, when I was a teenager, I was pretty sure I was going to win the Olympia at some
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
I was convinced that it was just a formality. So that's teenage thinking where you just figure, well, if I just work hard enough, I'll just get there. Oh, okay. I guess I got to take all these drugs. Did not know that, but okay. It was that type of mentality, teenager mentality again. But that's not exactly how it works. We're already talking about picking your parents right. Marshawn Lynch. Look, I love my parents to death. I wouldn't want to trade them in now. But maybe if you'd asked me when I was younger, maybe I'd be like, I don't know. Those are some pretty narrow shoulders, Mom, and I think I got them. That type of shit. So then you come down to, now people will take steroids. They have high test level. They have high free tests. Their estrogen. They have high IGF levels too. You should be growing like crazy, but you ain't growing like crazy. No one thinks you
Yeah.
work out. So there's a lot more going on than just the hormone levels. At the same time,
Mhm.
I am surprised to hear, even yourself. I would have expected you to say, I've got friends who are damn near 50 years old and they work out kind of occasionally. And one guy told me, he's like, oh yeah, I've got a 950
Mhm.
testosterone. I'm like, what? That just doesn't even make sense. That's unheard of. Not unheard of, but you're an outlier at that
Yeah.
age with that type of test level. And what I expected him to be more muscular than he was. Super nice guy, but testosterone doesn't feed, your personality very well. So yeah, that's not 550. I'm super. I got to go to this question. I've been waiting on this one too. At what age did it first strike? First, how long you been training?
Since 1999, so 26 years.
Okay, so how old were you when you started training?
16.
Okay, young, and myself at 14. So, and that's not me trying to one up you by 2 years. It was legit 14, but nonetheless. So we started about the same time. I mean, as far as how old we were, it didn't take me 2 years.
Hmm.
I read and you might remember this, but maybe not. Maybe some of the viewers will. I'm from Michigan originally, so I would sometimes train at Michigan State, and I would run into Tony Mandrich, Percy Snow. Percy Snow was an
Mhm.
asshole. Tony wasn't far behind. And he had an article in ESPN where they literally detailed all the drugs he took.
Mhm.
So I'm just being honest. This is complete transparency. I live in a small town from Battle Creek, Michigan, where all those cereal things are, all the cereal companies. So I go down the list and I'm calling pharmacies. And I'm like, do you have Dianabol? Trying to, make out these words, right? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, do you need a prescription to get those? Like, well, yeah, you have to have a prescription. Okay, hang up. So I get to like the seventh one. I don't know. I'm getting all the same answers, right? I get to the seventh one, the Zandy Apothecary. I can remember the name of it. I said, hey, do you guys have, oxymethylone? Or I probably didn't say it right. No shit. The guy goes, he hesitated for a second. He goes, is this Ken Hill? I'm like, no, this click. I don't to this day know how he said because I'm Skip in bodybuilding, but my name is Ken Hill. Like, if you know my name, you know me from like school and from not the bodybuilding industry, right? So he knew my name. I don't know. I'm like, oh shit, I'm so in trouble. Like, I don't know if he's gonna tell my dad or what. I enjoyed telling this to my dad years later, and he's like, no, I never heard anything about it. But it was such a smaller town. It wasn't tiny, but it was
Yeah.
small enough that he knew who I was. So the point is when this is a huge setup. I apologize. But at that age, I knew early on, oh man, this has to do with drugs. Like, for me to get big and really good at this and do the Olympia thing, I got to take. So I'm just being honest. Like I say, they can trash me in the comments if they want to, but I was on board with it. At what point, at what age did it become a question? Because you didn't do it, that's totally cool. But you had to think
Mm.
about it, right?
Yeah. You know, early on, I think I was. I had to tell this to people all the time. I was way better at conventional sports than I was at bodybuilding. I
Same
just
here.
had a very bad attitude when it came to those sports. Like I didn't like to practice,
Okay.
just kind of lazy. I was just out of bed. I was faster and more aggressive than you. You know, so
Right.
like I'm just very competitive. Um, but bodybuilding was the one thing. First of all, I didn't want to do it initially because my dad had a knack for it.
Oh,
So you know how it goes, like, I don't
yeah,
care.
dad's
All the boys were
uncool.
into muscles, and I was like, no, not me, not me. I'm fine just how I am. You know. But you know, I got right around the time that I started to realize that, you know what, like, and this was dumb because in hindsight, I'm like, you could have at least ran like Division 1 track and had your education paid for.
Yeah, yeah.
But to me, is if it wasn't going to, not even Division 1, it could have been Division 2, 3, whatever,
Sure,
you know,
yeah.
right? But I didn't see it that way. It was like it was all or nothing, and I'm like, man, I think at this rate, I don't see myself competing in the 2004 Olympics. This sucks. Um, it was a moment of like, you know what, you just in hindsight, not just when it came to like bodybuilding, but in life, I can look back and I'm like, man, you were brought up and raised incorrectly, many ways.
Yeah.
And I saw bodybuilding as like this was my one chance to raise myself right,
Okay.
to kind of start from scratch, and you know, don't pull Bertos, you know, things that I tend to do when stuff gets hard. So I was like, you know what? I think at the very least, what I'm going to do is compete in NPC teen nationals because it used to be like this huge deal,
Oh,
especially in
yeah.
the early 2000s.
Mhm.
And then do that, and take some time to go from I'd say at least you know, for good teen bodybuilder to something that looks kind of grown man ish by my mid
Mhm.
20s was my plan, and get my natural pro card. And then once I got the natural pro card, just say like, look, I paid my dues, but now I want to compete where, you know, the best genetics in the sport reside, and really test myself with those guys. But all it took was me getting my pro card at 24, 25, and then just every show in California, just running through those guys. And then I do my pro debut and I finished 11th out of 11.
Oh,
Kind of a just middle of nowhere show. Actually, it's right in it was um in the Midwest, and I'm like, oh shoot, it's like I got work to do, and I can't let it in like this. I gotta. And so there was a point where you know that was the plan. Um, there was temptation along the way. This was, I think, 2000. And I've told the story many times, and people don't realize it, but bodybuilding is so introspective. They think that I'm lying when I tell this story, but it was when the 1 AD and the 4 AD and the methylated testosterone, like they were
mhm.
about to be pulled off shelves. And I really got into that scarcity mindset. I think I was like 20 or 21, and I had a pretty good paying job at this point. Labor intensive, but I did. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take some of this disposable income and get me some of that. And I don't want to miss this window, you know, because
Mhm.
back then it's like, how do you get steroids? I don't know how to get steroids.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So
Apparently, you don't call local pharmacies and ask them for it, so there's
that's
that.
mind blowing. Uh,
Jesus.
I did spend the money, I got them. And I think um is I was waiting because things there was no Amazon back then. It took a while to get to you.
Sure, oh, yeah.
I was constructing my training and my nutrition plan that I was going to follow with these, you know, tag along with these drugs, and I'm like, hold up, you never do this. Like you never freaking do this. And then once I did get the stuff, I remember the 4AD came from this company called One Fast 400 or something like that.
It's funny, I think, yeah, that rings a bell. Yeah. They had all the pages. I mean, they had the huge ads in the muscle magazines, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was a thing back then, and, but I remember getting the 4AD, and it was just this plastic container, and it was obvious printer paper, and they just taped the label on. I'm like, "These are hormones?" And this is like
This is your labeling process?
yeah,
Yeah.
it did not feel like opening up an Apple product,
Right,
like, right?
exactly.
Right? So, at that point, I was like, "Alright, I'm good, like, let's just stick to this plan," and from ages 20 to, like, 23, I made some of the best progress. I pretty much built my base then.
Yeah, and I mean, in fairness, at that time, your test levels were probably through the roof like the rest of ours would. Well, say
Yeah.
the rest of ours, apparently not mine, because I was young when I did get a hold of stuff. I was probably 16 years old.
Oh,
So
wow.
I am
Wow.
one of those guys in
Yeah.
retrospect. I know the geared up crowd, I don't know if it's an altruistic thought process, but they're always like, yeah, wait until you're older and, don't take the gear until you're older, maximize your natural gains. And yeah, on the one hand, there is a lot of truth to that because
Mm.
you have the room if you do things right to be able to progress quite, especially if you're cut out to be a good bodybuilder. So I would even go so far as to say you could take the gear sooner, and I don't think you're going to end up, you're not going to shortchange your results or not get to a point because you took gear earlier. But what you will do is you could find out that you suck at it and that you're very mediocre when you could have found that out without taking gear. So that's kind of my takeaway because I did. I used it early. And I have to wonder looking back if I would have relied on my natural levels, if I would have found out by my mid 20s, yeah, this you're not cut out for this, which is funny because you talked about athletes and or being an athlete when you were younger. And I was a much better athlete than I was a bodybuilder. That's why I always laugh and say, I have no idea what I threw away, but I will tell you this. Had I put the time and the effort into especially baseball, because I was kinda gifted without wanting to practice, without any of that time, I was just really good at it. So, I would like to think that if I would have taken any portion of that obsessive focus and put it into baseball that I could arguably have been good at it and maybe gotten an education out of it. I'm not one of those guys who goes, "Oh, maybe I coulda gone pro." I have a lot of friends who went pro, and some of them sucked, and they just turned into great they just blossomed, and other ones were really good, and they got there and they stalled out. You
Mhm.
can't ever really know that. But I do know I was a better baseball player and a better, uh, athlete than I was a bodybuilder, and then I traded in for this thing that I always laugh and say I really suck at, but apparently I just love it to do it for 40 years and to not give it up. So, at the end of the day, you went with your passion, which was clearly bodybuilding, and I did the same thing, which brings me to this question. Did you get away from team sports? And I'll say for the reason I did, I hated to lose if someone else fucked up. At least these days, if I lose or I win,
Mm.
it's all on me. It's not because someone else did something great or did something wrong. It's all on me. I own it, success or failure. So I just wonder, is that something that or maybe you didn't even really notice that and it didn't play into it. That could be too.
You're, at that age, much better person than I am, because for me, it was very simple. I hated accountability.
Oh, okay. All right.
Right, right, and you need to have that on a team, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So, with track, it was very simple. It was like, "Hey, just go sign up at the tent the day of the meet and hang around and just be on time for your race, and, if
Right,
you wanna
right.
run fast today, run fast, and if you don't, you don't." Because coaches are generally just happy to see you there because,
Right,
they're always trying to recruit people to, run track when, their main sport isn't there.
right.
Um, so yeah, it gave me a competitive outlet when I was in the mood too, but it didn't. Yeah, it was again, like, iron doesn't lie. That was the one thing
Yeah,
with the lifting, was that if I skipped a week, well, you're not going to get stronger.
yeah.
So that right away kind of, and it just felt very natural. But that part like really got to me. I'm like, okay, it's just me against me here. I report to myself, and those weights, they'll tell you quietly. It's like, "Nah,
Mhm.
not today, because you missed your shoulder workout last week." You
Yeah.
know? So, that's what got me there, and, like you at the end, it's like, I wonder what could have been. You know, okay,
Yeah, we
could have.
all do that as we age, though, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But at
there's
the same
always that
time,
doubt.
this is the one thing that I can really apply myself to, and there's never enough time in the day, it seems,
Mhm.
as opposed to the other way around,
Sure.
right?
Yeah. And I mean, arguably, would you still be playing? Let's just say you were really good at that sport, maybe to turn pro. Would you still be that athlete, that professional athlete? There is something to be said of the fact that there's arguably a longer shelf life.
Yeah.
And even if you're not a pro, I mean, clearly I'm not a pro, but it continues to be a passion that keeps me, I want to say grounded, but there are a lot of people listening, I think, who can relate to this. Is it not therapeutic? I mean, the time that we spend in the gym, it doesn't usually like you don't bring your stresses and
Mm.
everything in. If they're bad, you might. But most of the time, everything is left at the door. And at least for that hour or two out of the day, it is a reprieve. It's a respite from sometimes, garbage and shit that's going on. So, and if it's not, and you don't have bad things going, it's still that time yourself that you have total control over what you're going to do and what it's like I always laugh and say, I don't want to train with anybody because I don't want to compromise. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I think that's why it worked out so well with my wife. I have to wonder if you guys didn't have the same dynamic because my wife will do whatever I'm doing and your wife was probably similar. She would it was almost like this, okay, you know what you're doing, so I'll do what you're doing type of thing. So I always had that control. And I've always said, I'm not a controlling person. I'll bet you're not either outside of the gym because you have control over those things. It almost kind of, I don't know, pacifies your control. And then when you step out away from the gym, you're like, okay, now I can roll with anything that's out there.
Yeah, no, I think it worked out because, like you said, like I think when I'm honest with myself, and what would have been my peak, it would have been like maybe you've gotten some auditions to return some kicks for an NFL team, and maybe cut the first day, right?
Right.
But best case, 3 or 4 years, you blow all your money. You know,
Oh
you're
yeah.
a shitty person. Uh, and and with bodybuilding, I think I was looking for an avenue to like something to raise me right, to raise a young man right,
Yeah.
and a lot of the stuff that was kind of annoying at first. Wow, it's like go to bed on time. Don't go out this weekend because you got legs tomorrow.
Sure.
It's like, hey, be selective about your partying. Um, the culture that just comes with it. It's like I tell you know parents all the time that hey, like worst things they could have picked in bodybuilding because I can guarantee you he's feeding himself. Like
Sure.
he's not eating Cheetos and apple juice for breakfast. Like he's they're cutting veggies and making this
Right,
great
right.
right. So it at the end it gave me so much more, and the things that people don't like about this sport, the people especially who this might not be for them, those are the greatest gifts. Like the best part is that it doesn't stop when you like leave the gym. It's like
Right.
I get to it is the sport of self-care to
Mhm.
some extent,
Yeah,
right?
and at the end of the day, it's a lifestyle. I would argue that it's sometimes all-consuming,
It can be,
so
yeah.
that and I don't know that it has to be. The argument is always, if you want to be elite, it needs to be all-consuming. I would even argue that and say that if you're able to keep things balanced, you can still be elite and but again, keeping things balanced when you are struggling and striving for, greatness or to be elite, it's very convincing to go, okay, I put all my eggs into this one basket and this is my focus. At least at the end of the day, I can say I gave it everything I had. When then you walk away with a divorce, your kids don't know you, you don't know your kids. So, it can be a hell of a trade-off. I don't know about the natural end, but I will tell you from the geared up crowd, and some people are gonna really get riled up about me saying this, but there's not always it doesn't always breed great relationships and bring out the best in a person. And I don't know that that's any different with the natural, crowd. It could be because it could just be motivation and focus and, narcissism, solipsism, we can throw in a bunch of stuff in there. So it may not even be just about the gear. It may just be the hyper focused, egocentric, nothing matters but me crowd. I don't know. Have you seen that? I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know.
no,
I mean,
a lot of that.
okay.
A
All right.
lot of the same old stories, and like hindsight is 2020, right? And
Mhm.
you'll hear, especially enhanced guys, like they'll reflect that, like, I use too much stuff,
Yeah.
right? And usually a lot of those epiphanies are, I did, I took it too far,
Yeah.
right? Like there's this point where it's like, okay, I'm going to be, and when it comes to focus here, like where I'm going to take it from here to here, and yeah, you see substantial progress, and this is what you should be doing, but then you do all these other things, and you didn't really get a whole lot from that. Sometimes
Mhm.
like it trends like in the other direction,
Sure. Oh,
and
yeah. Absolutely can.
and I can say the same thing for myself where um there is like every prep, there is a point where yeah, you turned it up a notch, but then you try to turn it up again one more time, and that one didn't serve you. Like, if
Mhm.
anything, that made the final product worse. Um, so I think those things are riddled everywhere in bodybuilding, whether it's like drugs or whether it's training volume, training days.
Mhm.
Um, it's hard because we don't think that way as humans. We don't like that gray area. Like
Oh, yeah. For
we
sure.
want to be firm against like the wall or the cliffside, right?
Very black and
Uh,
white.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
good to hear you say that because I have said for a long time, and obviously gear, is another variable that more is better.
mhm,
Bodybuilding itself, take away the gear for a second. Bodybuilding itself is a more like our response to things is more is better.
yeah, yeah,
More training, more intensity, less days off, so more training. Uh, when in doubt, less calories if you're getting leaner. When
yes,
in
yes,
doubt, more cardio. So then you throw in the gear component, and then we have the same thing. More is better. And let's not come off. Let's stay on TRT because we figure out, well, we don't want to give up what we have gained. And if we come off, that's going to be a bad idea. Things like that. So I think the sport, even though gear is always going to be a variable, the sport itself is we're just excessive and
yes, very,
sometimes not very good at that restraint and pulling back. And yet at the same time, when we are able to pull back, usually the response is pretty good.
yes.
I mean, it's kind of seems counterintuitive. And I just heard the argument. Lee Priest, I think, said this just a couple. I saw it a couple weeks ago, so maybe he didn't say it recently, but he said, "Well, and I'm not mocking him for saying this, but I don't agree with him. What other sport do you?" He doesn't talk like this. This is me just being dramatic. What other sport do you not do more to be more successful? What sport do you pull back in to be able to get better? It's not about training less and training less intensely. Well, Lee, we're not all genetically get like you were a freak at 16 or 17, bro. I was just trying to convince people in my school that I worked out. Like I was fighting to wear a medium, just shirt so that someone would notice. Well, he's a little bigger than everybody else. Maybe he's got 4 more pounds of muscle than everybody else here. It's not that easy. So it's difficult. And I think you have probably seen this with training people too. I know I'd rather take advice if I were a potential client. I'm looking for a trainer. I don't know if I would want to be trained by someone who is genetically gifted. I think the rules are just a little bit different. I would probably want someone who and it's not just me. I'm not saying that so that all these clients run to me. I'm doing okay for myself. But the point is I think that is the way I'd want to go. I'd want someone to get me ripped who wasn't naturally
Mhm.
just shredded and they were eating Burger King and everything and just stayed shredded all the time. Give me an endo. Give me an endo who can get lean. I might pay you to diet me because you might know a little bit more than the genetically gifted guy. So my point was when he made and it's a bitch because people likely have so much influence on people, and yet at the same time, it's just a different set of rules. Mm,
Yeah, and I think for me the best part about this, my adventures in bodybuilding, is it's been all the other things that it's allowed me to have in life. And I think even for these guys, it did make it work, right? They got to compete on the Olympia stage or went very well and they were Mr. Olympia. It's like, well, how about did you miss out on other things?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You know? And that's a different reality. So it's hard to for them to quantify, even reflect on that.
Hmm.
But I know that for me, when I describe what my talent level is, it's kind of like I'm a good off the bench guy in the NBA. It's like he can come up and like light it up for a few minutes. And, it's like he might have a 25, 30 point game every once in a while, like,
Right.
and the boys really like him, you know, but I understand that difference between myself and it's like enough where I can kind of taste and view things from like those guys and their perspectives, like the freaks of freaks. But I can also see that gap and also understand that it works in the other direction as well.
Sure. Careful what you wish
Um,
for.
right. So
Mhm.
it's yeah, it's allowed me to I think be a great coach. I can say that about myself now. But if I were superbly talented, I don't know if that would be the case. Just because I mean, from what I hear, Michael Jordan was hard to have around for that reason.
Yeah, I've heard.
Because right,
Yeah.
he didn't know how to because their bodies just didn't do the things that his
Hmm.
body could do, right?
Right.
So yeah, it's why, when you are hunting for a coach, probably the best way to go about it is be real with yourself. Look at their portfolio of athletes, not the
Mhm.
outliers, because outliers. I'll be the first to tell you, it's more about managing talent than you're making them something that you know you didn't make that. Like
Right.
the
Exactly.
parents
That
did
wasn't
that.
going to be made without you.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. You just manage and you keep them on the straight and narrow, basically. Uh, but look at people who are about your level in regards and be real with yourself
Yeah.
and look for coaches who have dealt with that demographic, that type of athlete and have gotten the most out of them. I think that's a good place to start. And that should take you a few months, in my opinion.
Oh, baby, baby, how was I supposed
I want to do
to
intimate time with you. Essentially, intimate time is 10 questions anytime we have someone on to be interviewed. The questions can't have anything to do with bodybuilding. It can't have anything to do with picking up heavy things, setting them down. It can't have to do with chicken rice. It's just completely not bodybuilding related. So, and I always have fun with it. And it can give the viewers a little bit more insight into you that doesn't have anything to do with being shredded and, kicking their ass on stage, that sort of thing. You ready for it? I couldn't tell you. That's the other part. I can't tell you ahead of time what the questions are. I got to put you on the spot with it. Ready to
I
go?
have no clue what's coming. Let's do it.
All right. Number one, it's 2010. You don't know me. I punch you in the face. What do you do?
2010. No, I was under control then. I'd be like, whatever he's going through is probably worse than I, and I'd probably de-escalate and get away from the situation.
See, now I'm disappointed by that because apparently the maturation process you'd connected with it long before I did. That's why I went with 2010. But a good answer. But it leads me to number two. It's 2026. You don't know me. I punch you in the face. What do you do? Apparently, it's probably the same answer.
Probably be the same thing, and I think before I stepped away, I'd ask you if you're okay.
fair, fair enough. Fair enough. Number three, it's 2026, and I haven't been back to Colorado since we sold the house in early 2018. Where would I find the best burger in the Denver area?
Go to Denver. I don't go to Denver. You have to come to Fort Collins.
Okay, then let's go with Fort Collins. Fair enough. What's
Yeah.
the best burger? And I mean, in fairness, that's University of Northern Colorado. They do have a hell of an agricultural what degree there and
Department. Yeah,
everything.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah,
so
yeah.
I bet they have some good beef there. Where do I go?
So this is odd, but and it was voted like the best burger in town, and usually that doesn't mean anything, but Nick's Italian pizzeria,
Really? Okay.
their
All right.
burger that they have there, and when you go ingredient by ingredient, they're like, "Oh, I see." It's just simple, but it's great ingredients.
Okay.
Um, so that'd probably be your choice. I don't go to Denver. People go to Denver way too much out here. Like I was born and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area, so I know what an actual city is. So then there's nothing there for me but traffic. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I have heard since I've been gone that it has just multiplied like
Yeah.
big time. So,
Yes.
all right,
Yes.
number 4. Is Boulder still considered granola?
They're clean Berkeley, California,
Yeah,
basically.
okay. I figured as much.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they are. They are, and, the goal is to, like, be rich but not look rich, I guess.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Number 5 has a little bit to do with Boulder too. Have they found JonBenét's killer yet?
Ooh, it's funny, I didn't revisit that till, like, more recently because I remember as a kid,
Yeah.
it just being on the news,
Yeah,
tragic
and they
stuff.
never like there was never any update. Say there was an update, but it's like that's not an update. You're just gonna drive this story into the ground forever.
Yeah, yeah, and there's, like, a new father, or I say that lightly, she's about to turn 2, it's like, I'd still be out there,
Yeah.
anyhow, yeah.
Number
Sad, sad,
6,
sad.
is it possible that Coach Okay, I'm gonna try this. Is it possible that Coach Prime killed JonBenet? I can't say it. I tried to say it with a straight face, and it's a bad joke. It's a horrible joke, really.
It's a
And
horrible one, Skip.
it just
Uh,
is, and I just tried to say it with a straight face, so just completely ignore that. I have another backup number 6. Sorry. Everyone has a vice. What is yours? But keep it clean, Alberto.
I like nicotine a little too much, for
Ha-ha.
sure. Yeah.
You're a pouch
That's
guy?
pouch guy, yeah. The first
Okay.
time I took him, I remember because I didn't do any stuff. I didn't man, I think I've done day drinking once in my life, for example, right? I just because family of addiction, so I remember
Oh.
I was working for the Boy Scouts, and I remember I'm like it was just one of those middle of the week days, and I'm like, I need something for today. So I'm like, you know what? I'm old enough. I'm gonna give myself it was a snooze pouch.
Okay.
And I pop it in as soon as I get in there with them kids. And I remember the first time you do it, you're like, this feels like I rocked back like 4 or 5 beers.
Yeah.
And it just blew my mind as to like, how do baseball players like do anything? It felt morally wrong, but yeah, it's been an off and on relationship with it. But I love my nicotine.
So you don't have a background of like Copenhagen or anything like that?
No, but I understand. I respect the game. There used to be some really old power lifters, like at my like just like West Side Barbell, disciples, and one guy in particular used to. It's probably on my life's list. I will do it at some point just to say I did it. But remember, he would have like a horseshoe, both sides, but top and bottom, right? And he just gut it and like bench press. And I'm just like just
Oh,
blown
wow.
away because with the snooze, like, like it's unlike the patches or the pouches.
Yeah.
Like if you swallow a little bit, you're screwed,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, I cannot imagine like where this guy's like tolerance level is at. But yeah.
Yeah, I was a Copenhagen guy. I did it just doesn't it worked when I drove a lifted truck in Colorado. It does not work to have a spitter in your M5. It is just not very classy.
Ooh, M5. Wonderful, wonderful taste.
Yeah, I'm like well, who goes from a lifted truck to an M5? Apparently Skip does. But anyway. All right, number 8. I'm sorry, 7. Now, you already said you don't go to Denver. So last concert you went to at Red Rocks, have you been to a concert at Red Rocks or no?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was it? Who was it?
Rez was who I was there to see. So electric music.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So
And for those who don't know, Red Rocks is arguably one of the most musicians love Red Rocks. It's like it goes all the way back to what,
Mhm.
like the 50s or something? It's what's the word I'm looking for? It's obviously it's nostalgic and then the people,
But it's on your bucket list if you're an artist. Like
yeah,
you
that's
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
That's a better way because I'm like, how do I explain this? But it is very well like it's iconic in the sense for musicians. Like they love playing there. All right, number 8, Air Jordans, Veja, Louboutin, or Vans.
So I'd probably get me some Jordans at this
Okay.
point, just because I could never afford them as a kid.
I think it's a
So
bodybuilder thing, right? I mean,
it
like I
is,
know
and
a lot of bodybuilders who have like a closet full of Jordans.
I don't get the hoarding, but I would probably get me some taxis, and just one pair because I'm really bad at taking care of clothes in particular. Uh, so I just wear whatever people throw at me, basically.
I thought you'd be a Vans guy. I wasn't sure.
That would be my go. Was probably one of my favorite lifting shoes for sure. Is
Oh, okay.
Vans. Yeah.
Number 9, I have to ask. I'm a horophile, a newbie horophile. Do you wear a watch? And if so, what is it?
No, well, not really. It's a Fitbit inspired too.
Okay. All right.
So that's what I wear. But I remember with some purse money, I remember I'm like, what do I even do with this? And one of my athletes was like, you know what I do? He's like, I always get watches. And I'm
Nice.
like, oh, that'd be some nice. It's like trophy. You got your own trophy, right?
Right.
Right. So yeah, that might be something I start soon, but you got to win some shows to make that happen.
You have to have a purse, right? Exactly. Number 10, tomorrow you find out that you can never make money again in the bodybuilding or fitness industry, but you wake up with the gift of either being an incredible singer, incredible dancer, hilariously funny comedian, or you have the acting ability of Tom Cruise. Which do you choose?
No, I'm acting. That's probably, yeah, one of those things that uh I probably wish I would have pursued as a kid a little bit more.
Okay.
Just thought it was too funny, too out of the ordinary, but uh I really, because we're all actors at the end, we pick our
That's funny you
avatar.
say that because you thought that you wouldn't be good at it because you were out of the ordinary. But a lot of times that's what makes for a good actor.
Well, and that's what the world does to people, is like it beats the parts that of you like out of you. Like, so
Yeah.
especially as kids or teenagers, it's like it's especially important to like make sure they keep some of that essence, because in high school you're trying to be like everyone else. Like that's
Right.
it. You're just trying not to stand out. And it's like, no, but what's really going to carry you in this world is like you being you, because you're going to suck at pretending to be someone else the rest of your life.
Mhm.
So yeah, in hindsight, that is the one thing that I wish I would have pursued, something in the arts. It was just weird.
On that note, well, number 1, I want to thank you for coming on. Great conversation. I wanted to go down the training hole a little bit. And you know what? I was like, let's get over here. Let's shoot the shit a little bit. So I appreciate you being a good sport about it. I wanted to dig into your brain a little bit. The only thing that I didn't get to ask you, and this will be an excuse, I'll kind of give a teaser here, be an excuse for you to come back on, is I do wonder, and I'll do it this way. I'll ask the viewers to comment in the comment section, why is it that the natural crowd and the gear crowd irritate each other? Much like bodybuilders and powerlifters, you know what I mean? There's always has to be a little bit of infighting. And I wonder what everybody thinks. I was going to ask you about that, but we're having such a good time with the conversation. And it's like, that'll be an excuse for him to come back on. But on that note, we got to get to getting. This is Skip and Alberto Nunez splitting. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to like, subscribe, share, ring the bell, hit the hype button. If you didn't like the show, pretend you did. Like, subscribe, share, ring the bell anyway. Should sound a little something like this. Use the TrueNutrition.com link to save 10% on not just Team Skip protein, but every supplement they sell. If you want to follow Alberto Nunez, where do they follow you?
Instagram is primarily where I do my business, and YouTube.
Very cool. What's the YouTube?
Team 3DMJ.
3DMJ. And Chris will have that up there on the screen. Very cool. You can always reach me, teamskip.com. You can always get your merch. You enjoyed the episode? Be sure to click on this link. There'll be a link right here, Alberto. You don't see it right now, but it'll be there for another episode of Between Two Dumbbells.